Each planet is exalted in the opposite sign that it is debilitated. So the moon being debilitated in the first 3 degrees of Scorpio means that the moon is exalted in the first 3 degrees of Taurus. So we talked about how Scorpio is like exploring a shipwreck. There are all these unknowns, these dangerous predatory fish like eels that can just pop out of the shadows, which is a symbol for frightening parts of our consciousness that can kind of come out of nowhere. There are these kind of mysterious and eerie sights, the decaying ship. It's this mysterious place, this mysterious location. That's Scorpio. So the shipwreck represents the aspects of our psyche that are very difficult to explore. The old fears or the failures that we feel we have that are lurking underneath our surface personality, and the kinds of weaknesses that we're hiding from other people. That's what the Scorpio experience is. So the moon is our self-perception and our self-identity. And so when that perception is focused on such a dark and dangerous place, the moon becomes overly accustomed to feeling threatened by surroundings or one's own environment, and then it can cut itself off in the form of self-protection. And again, it's about the perception of our environment. We feel like we're always surrounded by threats because of maybe of past threats that actually occurred. But when the mind state of the moon, the attitude feels like you're always in a dangerous situation. That's a trait of the moon in Scorpio. But you can have the moon in any sign and still have that kind of posturing towards the world. And instead of perceiving the world as this constantly changing realm of possibilities that are there to help us get our needs met, it's the sense that the world is out to get me, and so I have to keep my guard up. That's the toxic, unhealthy lunar consciousness. So this video is about the opposite of that, the exalted lunar consciousness. So how is Taurus the opposite and therefore the most welcoming place for the lunar aspect of human nature? So keeping with the theme of a symbolic location for the signs, Taurus, the location of Taurus, is a village. And a village is where people go to get their needs met. You're surrounded by people that can help you to whatever it is you need in a situation. Say the soles of your shoes are worn out, you go to a cobbler. You're out of grains and you're out of vegetables at home, you go to the market. You want advice from a friend, you go over to their house. The village is filled with opportunities for you to get what you need. And that's what Taurus is like. When the healthy moon consciousness is in Taurus, you look out and perceive the world as kind of unlimited possibilities of getting what you feel you need or what you want. And that's the really positive way that the moon behaves in Taurus. And your moon can be in any sign. But the healthy lunar consciousness is looking out into the world and not seeing threats and not feeling like everything is dangerous, but that there are opportunities surrounding you everywhere. And even if you don't live in a village and you say you live out in the country, you go to the village to get your needs met. So the village is this place where great things can happen to you in just your day-to-day needs and wants in life. So the lunar consciousness in this healthy state, you're in this feeling of being surrounded by an environment that it doesn't take a great amount of effort to get the things that you want and need. You don't have to strain yourself because in the village there are all of these possibilities around you. So when life is flowing and we don't feel like we need to expend a huge amount of energy to receive good things and receive what we're needing in any current moment, we're automatically much more content and peaceful with our life because it's not so mentally strenuous. Our mind doesn't have to overthink, and we don't have to really feel like it's going to be very difficult to just do the simple necessities of life. And so this is why most people live in towns or in cities. It's just easier to get the basic things of life done. And this is one of the keys of the moon's agenda in our consciousness, to make sure that the basic necessities of life are being taken care of, our basic wants and needs. And you can take that even to higher levels of, deeper spiritual needs, but the basic things in life, when they're easily met, we're feeling better. Our emotional well-being is a lot better. Our moon, our self-identity doesn't feel that it has to worry. It's so much less worrisome. And when our immediate needs are being met, it's so much easier to take care of the needs of other people. Because the moon is, remember, our ability to empathize and to nurture other people. So a healthy lunar consciousness is first able to put themselves in a stable position in their own life. And then when they're in a stable position in their own life, it's so much easier to reach out and empathize and help other people. If say you're out in the world trying to help other people, and then those other people look at your life and you're behind on your rent, you're jumping from job to job, you're not in a steady relationship, and at the same time you're running around trying to take care of other people, but you don't have your own life in order. You don't have your priorities straight, and eventually you're going to break down. And even the people that you're trying to help are going to look at you and say, hey, you got some things you should take care of before trying to help me. So why don't you go sort out your life first? So when we all have enough resources at our disposal in the village, or feeling like we can see and perceive the world as a set of opportunities to get what we need, as resources around us to help get what we feel we need, which most of the time comes down to having food on your table and having enough money in your bank account, those basic necessities. We have so much more freedom when our basic needs are being met. And this, again, makes it so much easier to help other people get their needs met, to be able to empathize with other people's situation. And this is what one of the powers of the moon, one of the forces of the moon within us, to first get what we need and then to help other people get what they need. So Taurus is a fixed earth sign, which means that it's a sign that an earth sign means that it's very materially orientated, or it's concerned, or it's the ability to work in the concrete reality in front of us. It's this set of abilities that we can use to take care of what's directly concrete in front of us. And that's what earth is. And the fixed part of the symbol means that it's a sign that doesn't make drastic and quick changes, but rather it's steadily moving and steadily evolving to complete things and to finish things up. It's not a sign that, like a cardinal sign, which is abilities to make changes in our life and to move and to do new things. So Taurus, a fixed earth sign. So think about, why would the moon, which is a water planet or an emotional planet, why would it be the best in a fixed earth sign? And the easiest way I like to imagine it is how do you drink water? You use a fixed container that is resilient and that is not going to be changing shapes. You use a cup. So the moon is, in this metaphor, is the water in the cup. And so when you pour the water in the cup, it molds to the shape, and it's the most effective way to drink the water. And you can stir the water, you can add lemon juice, you can do whatever you want to the water, and you can carry the cup around. So water in a fixed container, a concrete container, these two things are extremely compatible because the water's not spreading all over the place and becoming dispersed and causing a mess. So this shows how a stable material life, the cup, it naturally is supporting a stable emotional life, which is the water. Water is the symbol for emotions. So the healthier a lunar consciousness is in a person, it's going to replicate what the moon in Taurus is. And the moon in Taurus realizes how important having material stability is for emotional stability. So when our material needs are met very comfortably, we have so much of a better capacity to help other people, and our ability to be responsible increases. And this is a key trait of Taurus, as well as an exalted lunar consciousness or a healthy moon in yourself. It's the ability to look after and nurture other people and be able to be responsible for their well-being. And think about that word, responsible. What you're doing is you're responding to them without shaking up your own life or throwing yourself into turmoil for the sake of that other person. And you see people with these healthy moons, they can concern themselves with other people and the wants and the needs of others without it deeply affecting their own internal stability, especially their internal, their emotional stability. And the opposite, a person that is irresponsible, they can't look after and respond to the needs of other people. And we talk a lot about responsibility in the sun videos. This being responsible for others is a very great trait of the sun. But the sun's way of being responsible is for other people to depend on you and have other people be able to lean on you and to not be able to be kind of pushed around by other people. Other people can look to you or really feel a very sturdy presence within you that they can, depend on. And so there's some common ground with the moon in this. So the sun is this sturdiness of your convictions and to look after other people who are less powerful than you, so you can help show them how to be you can be an example for other people, show them how to be sturdy in their own life. Well, the moon's responsibility is simply being there and responding directly and actively with them in a kind of social or emotional way. So the sun being sturdy and being able to be a bright example for other people to emulate, and the moon being responsible, being able to be there and to be able to nurture other people and comfort them without it causing yourself to become unstable or emotionally distraught when you're doing that. So the traditional symbol for Taurus is the bull or the female cow. And that's because in traditional societies, they measured their wealth by how many bulls or how many cows they had. And so bulls and cows in some ways, and still are, the ultimate resource. And think about a cow will give you all of the dairy and all of the milk, and then a bull can help you till a field. And even today, when they slaughter animals, all the food that comes from a single one of those animals can feed a family for an entire winter, just one of those animals. So, and like I was saying before, tractors, you had to have a bull to till the fields. It would drastically increase your productivity, and the female cow gave you all kinds of healthy dairy products. So the core of the symbol of the bull/cow is it's a resource. And so Taurus is the sign of resourcefulness. And resourcefulness is being able to use whatever it is at your disposal to get where you want to go, or to see what's around you, to be able to perceive your environment and being able to see, I can use this to get what I need or get to what I want to have done. And knowing what we know about the moon, that it's this force of human nature that adapts to a difficult world, it's quite obvious why the moon does so well in Taurus. Because you can see that embodying this exalted moon, being a healthy lunar person, no matter what circumstance you find yourself in, you're able to navigate that circumstance and make the best of that situation. So in a word, you're a resourceful person. And the first people that maybe it was, back in the distant past, they looked at that big, giant, scary bull with huge horns and say, that would, if I strapped this tool behind, he could pull my till, and I can get all my work done so much faster than me doing it, have to do it all myself to hoe the field. Well, that is a person who was very resourceful. They looked out on the world and they saw something that they could have used and say, well, that's going to help make life so much more productive for us. So when you're a resourceful person and being resourceful, it's this internal state and this attitude that's confident and knows that it can make things work, and that there's something around you at any moment that can make things happen that you have at your disposal. So you'll see people with great moons, what they're doing is they're perceiving and absorbing the world around them. And what they're doing is that they can really be comfortable in any kind of environment. And they're not getting flustered or overwhelmed no matter where they are, because they can see opportunities and adapt to opportunities all around them to get their needs met. They don't feel stuck. And They don't feel like there's nothing they can do in a certain moment. They're going to find a way around. They're going to find a way to either get themselves out of the situation or find something in the situation that's immediately useful to them. And it can be anything. So they're really open to something new happening. And they have this kind of spontaneity that is flowing in harmony with their surroundings. And again, the easiest favorite example for moon situations, if you go to a party or you're in a social gathering setting. The worst thing you can be in a social setting is being really self-conscious, which is being so aware of your own ego, your own image, and you're so honed in on yourself that you're not engaged with the things that are going around and flowing around you. The exalted moon consciousness, the healthy moon, on the other hand, is the opposite. It's like the social butterfly. It's completely engaged in the conversation happening right now, in the moment. And they're able to move from one conversation to the next without honing in internally and focusing in on their own needs and their own self-image, that self-consciousness. It's such a debilitating place to be in when you're in a social gathering, when you're just thinking about yourself. You're kind of ignoring what's happening around you, and you're not picking up on the environment and flowing with your environment. That's what the healthy moon does. And at social gatherings is where you make connections to help your life for when after the party's over. And I myself, I've become more introverted as I've gotten older. And so it's funny I use these examples. I really don't like going to parties much anymore. And every time I'm amazed because when I'm basically forced to go to a party and I really don't want to go, but once I go to the party and I just let go and I allow things to happen around me, I stop telling myself, oh, I'm introverted, I don't like this situation. I'll always find myself in an interesting conversation. I'll be learning something new from a person who I didn't expect to have a conversation with. And then at the end of the party, I'm feeling good. And the people around me are like, wow, you didn't want to go at all. You were totally against it. But at the end, you're the protagonist and you're talking to all these people and you were way more into it than even we were. It's because I let go. I stopped focusing in on myself, and you just you're just adapting and flowing and ebbing with the environment around you. And that's what the healthy moon is like. That's what it feels like. And so in a party situation or just a gathering, a social situation, what you can really do is build new relationships or build upon previous relationships. And then those people can become important resources in your life. And these people, you can find, even if they just shared an idea with you, that new idea is a new resource. And all happened because you were open to things happening and you are adapting in the moment. So remember that the lunar force, the moon within our consciousness, is part of human nature. It's always changing. Every moment is different. Just like how the moon in the sky, it's always changing. It's always growing or it's always diminishing, waxing or waning. So the healthy lunar consciousness is very fluid and it's very happy to change depending on the present moment. And many philosophers will say that happiness is living in the moment, because when we are living in the moment, we're not concerned about our ego's security. We're not concerned about getting our needs met immediately. We can be passively doing that or trying to get what we think we need or what we want. But in the moment, we're behaving truthfully in regards to who we are in our self-conception, our self-image. We're responding and we're observing truthfully, and we're just in that moment. And that allows our true self to emerge forth. And then good things naturally happen to us. And we're just open to life, and then life opens up to us. And I used to be a theater and film director. So when I was a theater and film director, I studied the Meisner School of Acting. And it's one of the major systems of acting. And what the Meisner system teaches a person to do is simply to respond truthfully in the moment. And it's way more difficult than you'd think. Oh, just respond truthfully. But it's a whole school of acting that teaches you how to be as honest as possible and to chip away all of the layers of you that can prevent you from behaving in a completely unself-conscious manner while you're on stage. Because think about if you have a set of lines in the script that you have to read, one of the key things that you have to do is you have to say those lines like you've never said it before, but you've rehearsed it dozens of times. How do you get to the place where you're responding so truthfully in the scene that that line comes out like it's the first time you ever said it? So when you're able to become an actor with that kind of talent and skill, your performance is so magnetic because that person is behaving so truthfully, and they're just acting in the moment. And that's what a healthy lunar consciousness is able to do. It doesn't have these preconceptions. It doesn't have these thoughts and ideas about themselves or other people. It's just living truthfully in the moment. So the Vedic sage Parashara, he gives a lot of really great information about all the planets, and he's one of the pillars of Vedic astrology. One of the descriptions for the moon he gives is that the moon has a round body. And for the sun, Parashara said, the sun has a square body. Well, the square and the round body are two opposites. And a round body, essentially it rolls around and it's fluctuating in the moment. You can kind of roll it anywhere. Whereas the square, it's firm. You can't roll. It's much harder to move a squared bodied person. The moon, on the other hand, is flowing and moving around. So a healthy lunar consciousness, it acts like the moon in Taurus, because remember, Taurus, just like the solid container or cup, Taurus is the zodiac sign of dependability. And you can depend on that cup not melting away. And so Taurus is this kind of straightforward course of action. And it gives the ability to do things steadily and without drastic changes happening. And so the moon is always changing. But why does the moon do so well in a not very moving place? Because the moon, it's not good to change too quickly and to be always in this fluctuating kind of mindset, or to change just for the sake of changing. It's great to be living in the moment, but you can't be like a leaf in the wind blowing wherever you're getting blown around. That becomes unhealthy. You have to have this kind of balance where you're able to change within a certain kind of context or within certain parameters. Because think about the moon round body. It can roll in any direction. But what Taurus adds is this stability and direction to the moon. And it has this, and so that's great for the moon, which has this natural propensity to be adapting. So the healthy lunar consciousness has this balance. It's grounded and knows when and how to change and what's the appropriate way for changing. And it won't unnecessarily adapt or whimsically adapt to something or just an anything goes kind of attitude. So there has to be a balance to the way that the moon is changing, because it's always changing, but Taurus gives it this nice structured sensibility for knowing when and how and when it's appropriate to adapt, and what it is appropriate to adapt to, which gives this, like the water in a cup, gives a structure to our world and gives a structure to the lunar state of consciousness. So embodying the exalted lunar consciousness, to live with a healthy moon, it's really rooted with a life where external circumstances are predictable to an extent, where we're not waking up every day and unexpected problems are all of a sudden happening to us. And this goes with our ability to change, how the moon is always changing. We can't be in an unstable material situation to life, because excessive change, excessive movement, getting blown around by life, it's eventually going to create a lot of emotional instability. So we all need that kind of material stability, and we need to have situations that are happening around us where we can depend on them being there the next day. Because if you can't depend on material things being stable in your life, like your living situation or your eating situation, if you can't depend on those things, you're going to end up living a very stressful and taxing emotional life. Sure, you can live like that when you're young or figuring things out, but eventually you're going to have to build up and create some kind of material stability for yourself if you really want to have, if you want to grow in your emotional stability. The two work hand in hand. So I find an important key to a healthy lunar consciousness, a healthy moon, is having the ability to count on the material side of life being stable. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to surround yourself with, you don't have to be around wealth all the time, but you want to surround yourself with a supportive environment that you, whether it's a supportive family, whether it's friends, or things that help your life run smoother, like living near where you can get resources, living near a village. When you're living that kind of life with a material stability, you have so much more potential for a healthy moon to emerge, because you're able to allow things to grow in your life. Without material stability, everything always changing all the time, you're not able to let something grow with consistency. And remember, we talked about how the moon is our ability to to allow things to grow and to mature, and then allowing them to dissipate, and living in that healthy cycle. If every day is this new fast-paced cycle and there isn't something being built over the long term, you're not going to be able to find the inner emotional stability that the moon needs just to live a happy and peaceful and content life.